Hey everybody, and welcome back to our latest round of GAA match predictions. I'm Lewis, and I'm joined again by Jack from the Betting Island team. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing good, Lewis. How are you keeping?
I'm not too bad at all. I'm quite excited for this weekend. I know we haven't got a huge volume of matches, the hurling, but we've got two absolute monster clashes. Obviously, the provincial finals for Munster and Limerick. So there's a lot of really good teams and really good players in action. Let's start with Munster. Obviously, Limerick against Cork. What are your immediate thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think this is it's a mouth-watering clash. It's probably the two best teams in the country. Maybe Cork won the league championship, and Limerick have won 4 of the last 5 All-Irelands, and were kind of unlucky last year. Cork beat them in the semi-final, so it's sort of a rivalry as well. The two teams kind of want to prove who's the better one, so it's kind of fitting that they're meeting in the Munster final. And they met earlier in the year in the round robin phase, and it was kind of surprising that Limerick won so comfortably, so I'm expecting a much tighter encounter this time around.
Same here. I think it's unfair almost that these two in the same group. It's such they're two such really good, really talented teams, great attacking players. But like you say, the earlier meeting was really striking. I think it was a 16-point margin. Nobody saw that coming, and I think it was one of those matches where it could have an effect on the actual final, because I don't think Cork would have expected that. The fact is, I think Cork have also lost 4 of the last 5 in the provincial matches against them, so I think there could be a little bit of a hangover there, which may be a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Yeah, you kind of expect that Cork would produce a bit more this time, but they could have that feeling in the back of their mind that they just can't get the best of Limerick. I know they beat them in the All-Ireland semi-final last year, but as you say, in the Munster phase, they seem to struggle against them.
Yeah.
And I think Limerick will probably win again, but I think it'll be a much tighter encounter this time. I can't see them winning by 16 points again. And I think Limerick to win with Boyle Sports is about 1.57. I think that's slightly low, but I suppose it is fair enough considering the margin of victory the last time. Don't know what you think about who's going to win.
Well, I tend to agree. I think Limerick have the edge. I know they lost their last game as well in the round robin phase, but they rested a lot of players. Obviously, John Keeley left a load out, so they weren't at full strength. And you can't really read much into that result. Before then, they were really solid. Obviously, like I said, they've got some great players. Aaron Gillaine's played really well for them again in the province. So for me, I think they've got the edge. I agree with you on the odds, 1.57. I don't think they're that bad, but there's not a huge amount of value in the outright market. Boyle Sports are offering quite a few handicaps on this match, which is interesting. Obviously, bigger match, you get more lines. They're offering, you can get a Limerick at maybe like -3 points, increases the odds to 1.91, which probably isn't a bad bet, because I agree with you, if it is going to be a win for Limerick, it's going to be a close one. And 3 points is a particularly massive margin of victory, so
yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a good handicap. One that stands out to me then as well is the over-under market. Yeah, I think as you mentioned, there was a 16-point win the last time, but there was 326 to 116. I think there was 54 points in total. Yeah. And Cork didn't really pull their weight in that game it was mostly Limerick. So if Cork tend to get closer to them this time, you do expect that Limerick will once again put up a massive score like they did the last time. So if Cork can just add a few more points, I think it's over 59.5 points is 1.91. So I think that's the market I'd be going with it, because with two Munster teams, it's always hard to predict who's actually going to win the game. Even if we do think Limerick will win, you never know what's going to happen on the day. So it might be safer to go for the points market.
I totally agree. On that note, there's obviously this match again, because you can get slightly more lines on this match because of it's such a high profile game. There's quite a few goal scorer markets, and I quite like Cork's Patrick Organ as an anytime scorer at 3. He's been in rare form, playing really well. I think he scored 3 goals in the championship. I think he got 44 points, and he's always a threat. And like you say, if Cork, who are normally really good in attack, bring their A game going forwards, I would expect him to get on the score sheet. So that might be another bet. If you're not tempted by the money line or the match betting result, have a look at some of these other markets and see if you can find any value.
Yeah, that's good. We'll move on to our Leinster final encounter, Galway and Kilkenny. What's your opinion on this one now?
It's a very similar match in many ways. I think Kilkenny were dominant in the group stage. I know they they slipped up against in their last match of the round robins, but Wexford played well and they did rest and rotate again, so you can't read a great deal into that. Obviously, they've already beaten Galway in the round robin phase again, and looked really sharp. It was a bigger margin of victory than usual between those two teams, 12 points. So I think if you look at the last sort of 4 matches, I think there's been 2 draws and 1 win apiece, and normally they're very hard to split. And then you've also got the factor of Kilkenny are dominant in the province, just like Limerick have been. Galway, a very good side, probably the next best, and a really strong challengers. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the games. I think in terms of the result, I would probably think that, again, Kilkenny just have an edge, just in terms of big game matches and their form. But I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they've just been so dominant in Leinster again this year. I know, as you said, they slipped up against Wexford, but we kind of thought that when we met a few weeks ago that they would rest a few players and it could be a chance for Wexford to get the win. But I think Galway, they struggled last year and actually didn't get out of the Leinster group, so it's a much improved year for them, kind of what you would come to expect from Galway to get to a Leinster final. And I think just Kilkenny's dominance has been, as other than Limerick and Cork, they're probably the next best team in the country at the moment, so and they're kind of just lucky they're avoiding that they're not in that Munster Championship. They get to a Leinster final every year, but they don't take anything away from them, and I think they'll probably win again. As you said, they were dominant enough, 12 points the last time, but like in the other province, I can't see it being a 12-point margin again. But I do think Kilkenny will get the win by maybe 2 or 3 points or somewhere in that neighbourhood.
Yeah, I agree. I think it won't be the same margin as we saw in the round robin phase. Galway have improved, as you said, and I think we both tipped them to beat Dublin last week and get through. And I think they're at a different stage. They've improved a lot. I think Cathal Mannion's been outstanding for them, and he's going to play a big part in this final. And if they are going to win it, he's going to be probably the man who's going to take them there. But I just think, I look at Kilkenny, like I say, and I think they've got so much firepower. They've got so much strength in their squad, and like I said, they've got that form and just the knowledge of how to get over the line in these big matches. So I tend to agree. I think definitely backing Kilkenny. It's just a question of where the value is in the market.
Yeah, I think the value may be probably similar to the last one. It's slightly not with outright winner. I think like the Limerick game, the handicap, there's 2 handicaps that stood out to me just because I was surprised based on the previous meeting that they were offering good odds for -2 and -3. I think there were odds of 1.73 and 1.91 respectively. So I definitely think the -3 one in particular is a intriguing market. Whether Kilkenny can be as dominant again and win by 3-4 points, it's hard to say. Galway will put it up to them a bit, but I think they are definitely a 3-4 point better team than Galway. So I think that handicap is intriguing to me, definitely.
I'd agree, they're good markets. I also think if you wanted to extend that logic slightly further, I noticed on Ball Sports they've got some odds boosts at the moment, and one of them is on Kilkenny points, which actually bumps the odds up to 2.30. We've got to say that's a high risk. 5 points in a game like this doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. It's quite a big margin. So, but it might be worth it. I do think Kilkenny will win. I agree that they're 3-4 better. If on the day they can really play at their optimal, I think backing them to win by 5 might actually offer a bit of value.
Yeah, there was another market that kind of stood out to me. There was Kilkenny to score 3+ goals. I think in the last time the sides met, Kilkenny scored 3 goals.
Yeah,
and in their 5 round robin games, they scored 15 goals, which is an average of 3 goals a game. So the stats kind of point to 3+ goals, and I think it was good odds at 3.75. So if you want a bit more of a riskier bet, I think that would be one I'd go with as well.
I totally agree with that. I think they're all really good lines and worth consideration. On that topic though, what is if you had to pick one bet for this weekend, is that the one that stands out, or is there
I think that's, if I had to pick one that stood out as this is good odds and it'd be a bit of fun, I would say that one. And then maybe just as one that kind of is a bit more realistic, I would think your one you mentioned earlier about Limerick, I think it was -3. Yeah, I think that would be also good. Those 2 would be my 2 for the weekend. What about you? What would you think?
Similar in that I think that I like Limerick with a handicap. It's a nominal handicap, but -3 points. I think it just increases the odds enough to make it worthwhile. But then I also like, if you fancy more of a prop bet, then I think backing Patrick Horgan as anytime scorer, odds of 3, pretty decent, I think. Obviously, anytime scorer isn't as good as maybe first. The odds aren't as high, but 3 is quite competitive, and I think he's such a threat that I'd definitely take a look at that if you're looking at prop markets or looking outside of the money lines.
Yeah, very good. So this concludes this week's predictions for what's going to be a brilliant provincial final weekend in hurling. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and check out Bet in Ireland's website for even more predictions on other sports as well as sports news. Thanks very much for the chat, Lewis.
No worries, Jack. Till next time.
See you next time.